How do people use drugs in the US, UK and around the world? The Global Drug Survey asked 15,500 people about their drug use, and this is what we found. More Brits admitted to trying cannabis than tobacco or energy drinks. This was true in the US as well, where 89% had tried cannabis. 15% of people said they'd taken a mystery white powder without knowing or asking what it was. A third of them had received it from a stranger, and under 25s were twice as likely to have done so than their older counterparts. Clubbers were slightly more likely to have tried most drugs than those who don't go out, but this was most marked for tobacco, with clubbers 34% more likely to have had a cigarette in the last year. While only 18% of British clubbers said they needed drugs for a good night out, more than half, that's 53%, said drugs could make a bad night out good. And in the US, 1 in 9 clubbers said they needed drugs to go out, and nearly half thought drugs could make a bad night good. But despite its reputation as a party drug, more than a third of non-clubbers said they used MDMA in the last 12 months. People are trying drugs in different ways. 1 in 30 respondents said they'd taken MDMA rectally. Lots of people say they use drugs heavily. A quarter of MDMA users take a full gram each session. Others said they usually take more. More than half of cocaine users think that street quality of the drug has fallen in the last year. Cannabis users like natural drugs. Most prefer natural cannabis to new synthetic versions, and they think it's safer too. People don't think police can tell if they drive on drugs. A third think police could tell if they were driving under the influence of cocaine if pulled over, or more for cannabis, despite a £2.3 million marketing drive warning of the dangers of drug driving. Police on both sides of the Atlantic routinely miss drugs during stop and search. The statistics in Britain are about 65%, and in America it's 70%. But what happens if you're found to be carrying drugs varies hugely. Only 10% of Brits found with cannabis were arrested and sent to court, compared with nearly half of Americans. The rules haven't made much difference though. Only 2% fewer US citizens have tried cannabis versus their UK counterparts. 21% of UK users of sleeping pills say they brought them through their drug dealer, only 6% fewer than got them through their family doctor. US doctors are far more likely to ask about illegal drugs than their UK counterparts. But UK patients are more honest. Only a quarter of UK drug users denied their use to a doctor, versus 40% of US citizens, and in both countries, women were most likely to fib. Around half of respondents in the UK and America are concerned about the drug use of one or more of their friends. More than 2/3 of these people had spoken to their friend about it. The drug they're most frequently concerned about, by a huge margin, is alcohol, and that's in both countries. The two common drugs people most want to cut down on are tobacco and alcohol. And maybe they're right, 2/3 of UK respondents got scores indicating harmful levels of alcohol use, as did around a third of Americans taking the test.